All right, in this video, I'm going to talk about a tale of two different campaigns and how one campaign, and both these campaigns go into the same persona, the same segment, and one campaign got 88 times better performance than the other one. Why I think that is, and how you can apply it to your cold email campaigns. All right, so really quick, the first thing is just to cover the KPIs. So essentially, how most people are measuring performance in cold email in 2024 is by the lead rate. So how many leads do I have to add to a campaign to generate one interested reply? What I'm hearing right now from a couple of different lead gen agency experts is that it's between 285 and 350 leads to get one interested reply. So meaning if I add in, 1,000, I should expect to have roughly three interested replies. So that's the general benchmark of what we consider to be a good average level cold email campaign. Obviously, you'll have some that'll be lower than that, so better performing, and some that'll be higher, so less performing. But that's the general, like, kind of average midpoint in the bell curve. Okay. So first campaign, they were selling a company. So this is really interesting. My client is trying to get their company acquired or invested in by a competitor slash indirect competitor. So we made a list of a bunch of different companies that are direct competitors or competitors in like an adjacent vertical, kind of related, but not directly. Some of them have a lot of features that are overlapping, and some there's actually big gaps that their technology fills. And the positioning in the message is around, we are looking for a strategic investment and partnership with a potential for acquisition or acqui-hire if you like the technology and the team and you want to maybe do some kind of merger move here. So 700 leads added to the campaign, 41 positive replies, and most of the replies are from the C-suite. So there's a couple of corporate development people that we have in the campaign. We've had a few of those replies, but for the majority of them are like from founder, COO, CFO, CEO, obviously, and then the rest are a mix of corporate development people. And the company types, just for clarity, it's about 50 to 200 employee startups, so technology companies that are competing with my client. And so 17 leads to get one interested replies. Most of the interested replies as well are going right for a meeting, interestingly enough. So it's like these are very busy people. They're obviously all slammed with their own initiatives, and they're still going right for the jugular and saying, here's my meeting link, or send me your meeting link, or when works for an initial conversation. So it's interesting because this is a segment that's traditionally hard to sell to, right? It's tough to get in with a startup CEO and get them on the phone and get them interested in what you're doing. So I have a theory about that. I'll talk about that after, but interesting to note that. You can see here we also had a campaign going to family offices that did not do too well. It was not they were not too receptive. So that's why we pivoted to strategic partnerships, and that's the one that took off. And then over here, so same segment, different client, so different product, different client, different industry, but selling an analytics tool to startup founders. And interestingly enough, we added 6,000 leads to the campaign, only got 4 positive replies. So a 1,500 lead rate, essentially. And it's still ongoing, but it's not doing that well. So we'll probably pause this one and just focus on where we're actually seeing traction. But essentially, um, the tool is a very narrow point solution for one department or function within a startup. It is not really applicable to the C-suite. It's not really applicable to founders. It's really just for like one of the teams. Usually, it's like a 1 to 3 person kind of problem in these companies that are like 50 to 200 employees. So really, really narrow sliver of who it impacts. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, same product. We went down one level in the organization, selling to like the manager, director, VP level, depending on company size. And here we saw much better response rates. So we saw 4,600 leads added, 12 positive replies, meaning a lead rate of approximately 385, a little bit above benchmark. But one of the templates in here, one of the flows was getting a like 240 to 250 lead rate. So it was well within good performance for cold email. So here, my theory, so kind of the takeaway is I think, right, if you think about this person getting an email about an analytics tool, especially a specific functional vertical tool, they're just thinking like, well, that's not my department. Like that's my so and so's job, and I'm not interested in referring. They're probably just like just deleting the email right off the bat, right? However, the same founder getting an email about potentially acquiring a company or doing a merger or an acquihire, I mean, that's like a press release. That's millions of dollars of potential added revenue of acquired R&D, right? Think about if they have a product that doesn't have the same feature set as my client. Well, now they can put them together, and it's a strategic initiative that impacts multiple departments, right? Because if you think you want to go and buy a business, well, now you've got to get the board involved, right? So it looks good to them. It's like, hey, we're making things happen. We're making deals happen. You can announce it. It impacts the COO, it impacts CFO, legal, right? Like it's literally every department of the company will get impacted by a merger or acquisition. And so being at such a strategic level, the reply rate is just, it's 88 times better here than going to the same people with a different tool. And so takeaway for me here is really kind of, there's two takeaways. Essentially, the first takeaway is that you want to sell if like based on what you're selling, you want to sell to the right level in the organization, so you don't waste your sending capacity, you don't waste your time, your energy on launching these campaigns to a part of the company that just may not care about what you're trying to do. That's the first thing. So that's the easiest fix for most campaigns and most startups is just sell it to the right department, sell it to the right level. You may not know what that is yet, but just try a few different departments based on the lead rate. Then you can kind of hone in on it. Make sure you actually give a fair test for each one, so you don't just quickly write it off. But after 6,000 leads, we can tell comparing these two segments which one is better. And then the second takeaway is, if you really have to, like if you're for your business, for your deal value, if you want to go upstream, you want to go to bigger companies, if you absolutely must sell to a higher level of the organization, well, there's two paths that you can take. You can either through R&D, right, and engineering, expand the scope of your product so that it touches on more departments and therefore is a more complex sale. You can add a zero maybe to your deal value, and you can justify contacting the C-suite, the founders at that point, because it's a more complex sale and their buy-in is needed, right? If that's not feasible for whatever reason, you've got a giant backlog, et cetera. Another alternative is simply to think through how you can expand the ROI of your solution. And really in B2B, it's only increase revenue or decrease costs, right? And you have to maybe think of like the second and third order effects of how your solution helps with customer retention, employee retention, lifetime value of customers, lowering customer acquisition costs, right? All these like strategic things that can maybe increase the value of the solution so you can justify reaching out to a higher level in the company. So that's the takeaway. Basically, make sure you're selling the right level, and if you have to sell it to a higher level, take one of those two paths to kind of position it or actually break into that bigger level. But I thought this was really interesting to see. It was a really fortunate kind of parallel experiment that I've been running here, and it's been really really interesting to see. So leave your comment below if you have any questions, and if you want help with this kind of stuff, also leave a comment or go to 3victor.io and you can fill in. You can click book a call, and I'll be happy to walk through some ideas for your company. All right, thanks.